I'm a YouTuber by accident, right? Like, I didn't dream of this as a career. If you're under 10, you perfectly understand what I do. If you're over 10, it's like, how is that a job? My name is Jackson Crawford. I am a specialist in the Old Norse language. I'm a historical linguist. I used to teach at a lot of big universities, UCLA, Berkeley, and then the University of Colorado at Boulder. And for the last 6 years, I've been a self-supporting YouTuber and author and public speaker. I got hired at UC Berkeley in 2015, and I was getting paid $1,600 a month, and my rent was $1,200 a month. So I said, well, I've got to do something else. And so for a while, I wound up working at the National Maritime Historic Monument in San Francisco. You know, I was like a first mate on a whaling ship from the 19th century or whatever, you know, and just scream at kids when they come on their field trips. It was not great, not a good fit. And I remember I was driving back from that at like 2 a.m. one morning across the bridge, and I thought to myself, I'm an expert in literally the most popular thing on the planet right now, you know, Vikings and Norse myth and runes. Like, why can't I make a living off of this? And I started reading books about new media. And some book that I read said that people trusted video more than what they just heard on audio. And so I thought, I should make a YouTube channel. More people are interested in this than anyone ever thinks, right? You are not necessarily going to walk around on the street and meet people who are fascinated by it, but there are hundreds of thousands of people out there who are. And there's actually a lot of people out there trying to address this interest, right? Neil Gaiman wrote a big book about Norse mythology that did really well. So there's a big audience for it. And what I'm trying to do is say, like, look, I have nothing to sell you except the book itself. But I'm not trying to sell you an ideology. I'm not trying to say I am a medium of ancient gods or something. I'm trying to tell you what was written down in a book that's 1,000 years old and explain it to you, and even explain the language to you so you can read it. So I started doing it just in my office at Berkeley, just with a whiteboard behind me. But I noticed that when I would come home for holidays to Colorado and Wyoming, people really responded to videos that I just made outdoors, right? Like, oh, that looks like a green screen. It's like, no, this is what it's like to live in Colorado. And so when I got hired at CU Boulder in 2017, I just started making all my videos outdoors, and that's become the brand. I think it was a pretty slow realization that this was actually taking off and not just going to be a side hustle. I would always take these really, out of the way back roads through Nevada, on my way back and forth between California and Colorado, because the interstate's boring. And I stopped at a Pony Express station, and I did a reading from the cowboy translation that I had done of this Norse book of wisdom called Valhalla. So it's actually called the Cowboy Valhalla. I take this 1,000-year-old book and I put it into my grandfather's voice. And so I just read it in this Pony Express station, and that was my first video that I think did well. And I think that was one of the first times that I realized that I had more than a side hustle here. I had something that I could maybe actually turn into a very new, weird calling relative to what anybody else I knew was doing. My favorite thing about teaching back then relative to what I do now was the in-person interactions, right? I really like, reading the room, figuring out what people want to hear more about, or saying, oh, well, that didn't land, let me try a different tack at this. Right, I like being able to kind of live respond to the audience. I don't get that on YouTube, so that's something that I really miss. Well, the best one would be Disney's Frozen, right? The runes and the spoken Old Norse and the coronation scene, I did those. I'm also the reason that there is an arch in the scene where the trolls want to make Anna and Kristoff get married. I don't know if you noticed, there's an arch they make in the background. That's a weird shout out to a scene in a Icelandic saga where these men make an arch to swear their blood brotherhood underneath. They asked me what a Norse wedding was like, and I said, honestly, we don't know. Because when people get married in the sagas, they just say they get married, right? It's like if I told you, hey, we're getting married in November, I don't say she's going to wear a white dress, and we're going to say I do, and there are going to be rings, right? What it involves. So the same thing, they're writing for their own cultures. They don't describe it. It's just like, yeah, they got married, there was a wedding. So I said, we don't know, but here's this blood brother ceremony. There's an arch, and that's why they have that in Frozen. But my favorite project was probably Assassin's Creed Valhalla with Ubisoft Montreal. Those people were really fun to work with. They were just great about, following up on everything and asking great questions. And There were like 1,000 hands working on that. So it's not like I worked with everybody, but I worked with a lot of those people. And I actually, I think you could say I'm responsible for the name of the character that you play in that game. I'm a Northern Colorado local, actually a transplant, but only from just southwest of here. I do these monthly talks at Meat Creek Meadery in Loveland, Colorado, the last Wednesday of the month. So come on down and talk with fun people. It's always a great crowd, and I talk about some aspect of Norse myth or language or runes or something. And I'm on YouTube. Just search for my name, Jackson Crawford, easy to find. And all these efforts are supported on Patreon, patreon.com/Norse by Southwest, Norse by SW.